Well, we have just had a prelude of the course Environmental Science. Now let us discuss about how far this environmental science is considered to be a multidisciplinary subject. This environment is actually a word derived from the French word enviner. It means home, it means encircled, or it means surrounding. So environment means surrounding. When you just say surrounding, all the biological and the non-biological components includes the environment. So whatever the biological and the non-biological components encompasses the whole environment has got an interaction. That way we can just define that the environment is a sum total of water, air and land. These are the non-biological components. Their interrelationships among themselves. It means that these non-biological components have got an interrelationships either with themselves as well as with other biological components, very particularly with human beings and other living organisms, and how the interaction is manifested in a positive way or a negative way. So as a whole, this is what being defined by the environment, and this is being clearly stated in the Environmental Protection Act, which was devised in the year 1986. So it is very clear environment includes all the physical and biological surroundings and their interactions. That's what we can say in a nutshell. Thus, if the environment has to be encompassing all these things, how far we can get the knowledge inputs from the various disciplines? Very particularly, life sciences such as botany, zoology, microbiology, genetics, biochemistry, biotechnology, all these life sciences disciplines help us to understand how far these biotic components and their interactions with the abiotic components or their intra and inter relationships and interactions could be deciphered out. The physical and the chemical structure of the abiotic components and how far the energy is getting transferred and flowed across the different stages could be understood by the basic concepts of physics, chemistry, geology, atmospheric science, oceanography and geography, statistics, computer science. So all these things join together and form as an effective tool in environmental modeling and management, and that we call it as an environmental traction. That way we could clearly get an idea that environmental science is a multidisciplinary subject. In addition to that, subjects like education, economics, sociology, mass communication, these also deal with the socio-economic aspects associated with the various developmental activities which are being encapsulated in the environmental science. In addition to that, you find the other engineering subjects, environmental engineering, civil engineering, hydraulics, chemical engineering, all these things. It forms as a base for the treatment and development of cleaner technologies that is very much essential for the protection of the environment. As a whole, this is all being governed. The tool or the system runs with the environmental laws, thereby it provides a protective as well as an effective management of the environment. It is very clear environmental science is a multidisciplinary subject encompassing all the different types of subjects from science, technology, engineering, management, law. Thereby the whole earth is being governed and it is being properly shaped into the capsule of environmental studies. When we just look on to the scope of the study, well, when you just look on the broader areas and the components, it could be the natural resources, how far we can conserve them, how far we can manage them. First of all, how these natural resources, what are their salient features? Next, coming to the ecology and biodiversity, how the various ecosystems are being well fit in and framed in and are interrelated. How far the biodiversity is being having an interaction and how it becomes a part of the complete ecosystem and how it gives a betterment to the whole earth sphere. And importantly, today the buzzword of this present century is pollution. So environmental pollution, how our activities are contributing pollution, developing waste, how it could be managed, how it be controlled. Finally, what are the social issues that are related to the environment, how it is being governed. Finally, all these factors are coming to a central fulcrum because humans by and large dominate with the intelligence on the whole world. So how far this human population has got a governing role on the environment? What are the laws and acts that have been framed to have a disciplined type of environment? These are some of the scope which we can just look with this environmental science. And addition to that, it plays a very important role. See, whatever the age of a person or whomsoever it might be, he will be affected by the environment and his actions or his deeds can also affect the environment. So it means that there is a continuous interaction between the biological components and the surrounding. And keeping that, we just categorize the environment into 4 or 5 spheres. We call it as an atmosphere, which encompasses the air layer. Next, hydrosphere, which includes the water layer. Lithosphere, the soil. And there is a continuous interaction with the biological components, which we call it as a biosphere. For example, in the case of an atmosphere, it has no boundaries. So whatever the pollutants that are being there, we presume that it gets dispersed, but on the other hand, it gets transported from one area to the other. Now people say that even the Arctic regions are contaminated with the pesticides. We use pesticides in the plains, so there is some sort of aerial transportation, and even you find a deposition of these contaminants or the xenobiotics at the Arctic regions or the polar regions. How? So how these contaminants enter with the fate, how they get distributed. So these things, these intricacies are being dealt in this environmental science subject. When you say you find a river water to be polluted, so it could be polluted by an industrial or a municipal discharge from one point, and when it goes to the downstream, it also affects the aquatic life. Finally, if you find forests, these days forests have been cleared for settlement of humans. In a hilly region, it is being cleared, and we know that forests are the lungs of the earth. They give us the clean air, they take up the carbon, and they are found to be the best carbon sequestering pockets of the earth. So this way, environment is closely, rather intricately a woven network of various biotic and abiotic components and functions. There are some problems, environmental problems, which are localized, and you could find a lot of burning issues. Still it is being talked upon, what we call it as a global warming. Still it is being there, and as a result you often experience some sort of climate change and a lot of disaster. Recently we had a cloud burst in southern India in a particular place called, in a coastal zone called Thoothukudi, where we recorded somewhere around 93 centimeter of rain, which is equivalent to the 2-year downpour. And it gates were flooded, the cities were flooded, and people had a lot of loss, not only the material loss, human life loss, in addition to that other biological component loss. Even the drinking water was not safe for an year, no electricity. Their complete life system came to a grinding halt. So who is going to take up the responsibility? So this is one issue. There is another issue of depletion of the ozone layer. You find the dwindling forests and energy resources, and during the summer there is a shrinkage in the water table. So loss of diversity, very many factors play a major role, and right from the local environment to your regional environment or to your national and then global environment, what are the environmental issues that we are going to list upon and how we are going to approach them, understand them and learn them. This is what we are going to look on to this first unit, how far these natural resources are there playing a major role in defining the multidisciplinary nature of the environment. We always have a general statement, we have to think and act locally, thereby we can create awareness how to get a solution for all these problems. So awareness is the only solution where a person should be made aware of this environmental components. If he understands, automatically he will be in a position to get an awareness and he will be acting consciously in saving the environment. That way, if you just look on to its importance, so the very basic and fundamental nature for a human to give is a clean, safe and drinking water, a hygienic living conditions, fresh air, a fertile land where he can cultivate the good crops, thereby he can harvest a healthy food and make his development in a sustainable manner. So for that we require trained manpower on all these platforms, rather on all these pockets, thereby all the environmental issues could be managed. Environmental law, business administration and environmental engineering are some of the new emerging environmental fields, very particularly which focus on climate change adaptations and devising policy for the environment and how best whatever the amount of carbon we are letting in, can we have some sort of carbon credits, can we manage it through a proper carbon footprint management, or some of the new areas, or we can say that where you find good amount of career opportunities. In addition to that, by and large we think about the solid waste, how far wastes could be managed. For example, during the pandemic, we could be able to handle the pandemic, or rather we had a communication to the outside world through the digital technologies. As a result, we were been using a lot of enormous amount of electronic devices. Even now, I sit before and give you a lecture through online, and it is only through an electronic device. But over a period of time, these electronic device technology has to be updated and they become malfunction and they become obsolete. So what to do with this obsolete electronic waste? We call it as an electronic waste, e-waste, and how it has to be handled and how it has to be disposed in the environment is really a challenging issue. When you look onto the challenging issue, it contains metals, it contains noxious toxic metals like mercury, and also recoverable metals. Two angles we can speak on. Well, this could be acting as a source for metal, thereby we don't want to put our hands and stress on the ore, recovery from the ores. On the other hand, it can seep into the land, create sort of metal pollution and can disturb the life. Even the metals present in the electronic waste can create an impact at the genetic level. Genotoxicity is also being observed and well exhibited because of the electronic waste products being dumped into the soil. The best example is it can induce genotoxicity even in earthworms, which we call it as a farmer's friend. Now coming to the as a whole, if you just look on to a overall thing, we look on to the pollution treatment aspects. We create pollution, how to reduce it? People say that at the source level you can reduce it, but investing on pollution control technologies and polluters pay principle can be two effective methods to control the pollution. See, lot of pollution control technologies are there, and a simple change in mind and awareness is required. Instead of you buying a polythene bag from the local vendor, why can't you carry your own jute bag when you go for a purchase? When you go for a supermarket to purchase, or when you buy a vegetables or fruits from the local and roadside vendor instead of carrying that in a polythene bag? Why can't you have your own jute bag to purchase it? Thereby, the usage of the waste plastic carry bags could be reduced. A small change in the mindset and as well as in the attitude, and consciously we have to evolve and to make that our environment and earth to be green. We do have only one earth, save it. So another point we have to think is, so these are the point we have to look on for the public awareness. Now come to a point, what is the need for public awareness? Last month, in fact, we had sustainable goals, 17 sustainable development goals have been framed. We had a meet in India. When you want to have a good sustainable development, the first one of the important goal, the 8th goal that has been mentioned is about the climate change. So for climate change and policy and drinking water, how best we can give. The 4th goal importantly says about the quality teaching and the education. If this environmental science is being interwoven into this quality teaching and education, very well people can get an idea. They will be understanding the issues of the global environment concern and make our nation, India, a superpower nation by 2047. So how far we can make our own nation environmentally strong, how to go about save our soil, how to go about creating a green environment in the sense improving the tree plantation, let it be an afforestation program right from the school level, and awareness to the little children, to a college student or to a person or a middle-aged person, how far he can be environmentally conscious in making his actions for a better development of the nation. So that is the need of the hour. Thank you.